Welcome to PuckPod, episode 80. It is June 30th, Sunday night at the time of this recording. No buttery smooth mics this time, no studio setup. We're all remote this week. And it's been a damn busy week, not just on the NHL calendar, but I think for us, let's do like just how have we been, guys? It's been a while since we talked. Before we get into hockey, just how are we doing as people right now, huh?
Who
Um,
wants to start?
I don't really feel like a
Aided with the
person.
nod.
I don't really feel like a person right now. I feel like a robot. Just get an
For
assignment.
for school reasons, right?
Yeah, for school, yeah. So we have
Yeah.
me, Christian, Dave, Brando got hammered with a bunch of assignments. So for me, it's just been complete one, move on to the next, complete next, just no like human thoughts for the last couple of days.
Yeah,
Yeah, I've had a
I'm,
the
dude, I'm in
contrast
the
to you
same.
guys.
Yeah,
I've had a
I'm in the
pretty
same
good.
boat as you, Bry. A dog. Except I've been procrastinating mine though. So
Oh yeah, me too. Me too.
yeah,
The
yeah,
contrast
Bry.
to you guys, I
What's
haven't
going
had
on?
much to do. I'm on my own schedule right now. I'm watching all the soccer games. I start at like 12, and and then
And
the last
do
game
you watch
finishes
Copa
at like
America too?
yeah. So like I
Nice,
just watch soccer from like
full
10
day.
hours straight every single day. It's
Love
pretty
it.
nice. Not gonna lie.
Yeah, it
But
sounds
Dude,
like Brian, you've got it figured out there. But I think these guys just are not as good at time managing as they probably should
you
be, it
are
sounds like.
you are a
I was
hundred percent
was
correct.
about to say, I was about to say, like, as far as I know, Brando is not having the same experience with us. So yeah,
Yeah,
he's right. He's been
No, I would say
productive.
the first like 3 to 4 days of our break, I definitely took some time off of school, didn't really put too much thought to it. But then I'd say the second half I've dialed in a little bit more and just kind of figured out how to make things work. But it's definitely has been a lot, don't get me wrong.
yeah, Brando. And then to that point, I feel like I've been a procrastinator all my life, but I feel like I've gotten better at it, especially in this program. But for some reason, I said to myself before the reading week started, I was like, okay, I'm taking the first 3 days, 4 days. I said Tuesday, I would whenever the Tuesday, I was like, that will be the day where I kind of start getting back into motion. And now it is currently Sunday night, and I barely I
Dave,
did like just a little bit.
Dave, you
So
haven't
it's
changed one bit since high school. Like
no, no,
not
not a
one
bit.
bit.
No, I feel like I've been better before literally just before this week. I have been better. I've been a bit more on
Right.
top of it,
Anyway,
but
All right.
yeah,
Okay.
before you,
Procrastinators anonymous is over.
yeah.
Our session is over. I'm listen. I'm part of that group as well. 100%. Big procrastinator here. Um, Brando said it. He got dialed in second half. Let's get dialed in right now. Let's talk about this NHL week that has been. Going back to Monday, June 24th, we had Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Final. Then we had the buyout window open the day after June 25th. We also had the Hockey Hall of Fame class announced on June 25th. Had an NHL draft Friday and Saturday, June 28th and June 29th. And then tomorrow, we got NHL Free Agency opening July 1st at noon. It's been a freaking crazy week. Before we talk about each different event there, what do you guys make of the NHL calendar this year? Has it been too crazy, too long? What are your thoughts and opinions on that?
Is there a specific reason why we're just going so? Because it always feels like there's always at least, I would say, a full week to 2 weeks, like in between the cup being handed out and like the start of free, like it's always draft free agency. It's like within the few days before July 1st. It's always that. But it also seems like this maybe like is it because they went to game 7 this year? Is that why?
It's
It's
definitely
just,
part of it because that doesn't happen too often, right?
yeah,
Like
I guess.
last time was 2019.
Man,
I think it's like I think they try to they I feel like I've heard this before. It's like they try to line it up so that they don't conflict too much with the NBA calendar. But this year, like it was going at the
Same.
exact same time, right? Like and did you guys think that was a detriment to like the NHL like the Stanley Cup Finals? I didn't. I didn't find people being
well,
like having to choose between them. Like I
the
felt like I
cup
enjoyed
finals,
both, right?
it kind of felt like the cup finals, like the NBA finals wrapped up way like I think it was like game two was when sorry, game two of the NHL, like the Stanley Cup finals was when the NBA finals was wrapped up, right? So they had like 6 games, 5 games all to themselves, basically, right? Granted, that's also because the NBA Finals was kind of poop, but
Well, the thing
I
I
also, oh, you
go ahead,
Brian.
Brian.
You go first. You go first.
Thanks. The thing for me is like the schedule. It wasn't like it started late. Like back in October, I think the season started on the 10th. So unless you're really gonna bring it into September, which they could do, I don't know what they can do. I don't think you're gonna condense it anymore. But seeing what was it, June 24th, I think, when the Stanley Cup was given out, to me that's just a little too late. If you want to make it middle of June, that's fine. But there's a week or two where I think they need to make an adjustment.
The last point I
Yeah,
just want to
like
make with the
go
scheduling
ahead,
is
bro.
that anytime they switch cities, there was a mandatory 2-day break.
yeah,
That doesn't help
that's
given
true.
the flight and the jet lag.
That
Like
adds an
biggest
extra day in
distances too.
between.
So
You're right.
yeah.
I will say though, I do feel like that improved the quality of play we got in the finals. I did think that I noticed that because a lot of times by the time we get to the Stanley Cup finals, the war of attrition really gets to the players and it's an absolute slog on the ice. And there's just none of that action. I think we got a very entertaining series. And I think that is in part of it because the rest of the players got it. I do think that is a part of it. But I 100% agree. I think we're all in agreement that it is a little late. The NHL calendar runs quite a bit long. It should be done first, maximum second week of June, right? That's when the Stanley Cup should be awarded.
I think
Yeah.
we know what the fix is, but it will just never happen. And it's the NHL season is just too long. 82 games is too long.
That's
for like
but it's a
do we
no-go.
have to be like, I don't know. Do I want to be playing? Well, it was then Arizona. Like, do I want to have to play them twice a year? No. But that will never happen just because of like advertising and marketing and all that type of stuff. So we're never gonna. That is where the large part of why it takes so long. And they've been doing it for, whatever, 20 years now. They've kind of got it down to a science. The only thing is like you get more entertaining hockey, you just have to give up more time. Like there is the give and take there. So
yeah.
Honestly, guys, I love how long the season is. Around this time, so I'm a football guy. Around this time, I'm just counting down the weeks till September. So I'm all for the longer it goes, the better for me. And I'm honestly happy like the draft and free agency is all happening within a week of the Stanley Cup final. Because, after Monday, I was kind of bummed, like, wow, like the season's over. Now what? And then boom, you have the draft, and now we have free agency. So I'm excited the news cycle is gonna keep going for the next couple of weeks.
for sure.
That's fair. I think that it's fair to have that viewpoint as well. That it is the other side of the coin where we get a crazy week like we've been talking about. It has been a lot of fun to try and keep track of it. Sometimes it gets really hard, but it is fun nonetheless. Let's talk about when the fun concluded of the actual NHL season. Like we said, Monday, Game 7, Florida wins 2-1 to win the Stanley Cup, their first in their franchise's history over the Edmonton Oilers. That Game 7, I don't even know where to begin. There's a lot we could talk about. Quickly, what were your main takeaways from just the singularity of that 60 minutes, not the entire series, just that game?
Oh, the only thing
it's tough, eh?
it was a tough watch, but the one thing that sticks out to me, the one thing I remember is the last second when the Panthers win, Matthias Ekholm just snaps his stick right on the ice. I don't know if you guys saw that too, but I got a feel for the guy given the 2017 loss as well. I hope he gets one. He played his heart out that
Imagine what
game.
Corey Perry's feeling like though.
Oh, that's another one.
Might be time to hang it up, pal. You're not getting another one.
I don't know. Maybe he will. It kind of seems like wherever Corey Perry ends up, his team will make it to the final at least.
Yeah.
I mean, listen, if he comes to the Leafs and they make it to the finals, I'd be over the moon. Like
I saw somebody joked, they're like, listen, what happens if a team signs Jeff Skinner and Corey Perry? Do they miss the playoffs or do they go to the finals? I think that's the reality we need. We'll talk about Skinner later, but that's the reality that needs to happen. Yeah. I think my main takeaway was that third period, it really felt like the Oilers were up in an uphill battle. I talked about the war of attrition and how it felt mitigated because of the rest. But in that singular period, it did feel like the Oilers were tired, that their big horses had run their course and they were just out of gas.
Autogasson hurt. Like it's so tough. I get all the adrenaline and stuff, but what was McDavid playing through? It was like is he gonna have surgery? I heard yes, and then I heard no as well.
I don't
Yes,
think so.
it was reported yes, but no. Apparently no.
Yeah,
Yeah.
This guy's a freak, dude. That's the second time this guy's avoiding major surgery. Freak show.
I also think that we can give a new title to Carter Verhaeghe for being Mr. Clutch. Every big game, this guy shows up.
Uh,
Like
Did
did
he
it.
earn it this playoff, or has he already earned it? Because he's
I
been
would
doing
give
that
it
for
to
a
him.
while.
I would give it to him in the series
Brian
against
could
us. He
tell
scored
you
like
the
4
I
goals
was about
against
to say
us in the elimination
Brian
game.
could tell you the exact game, the exact moment in time when he earned that title. Right? What was
Yeah,
it? Game 6 against you guys. I think he scored the series winning goal too in
4
overtime.
goals.
Yeah.
Holy man.
And the next year he eliminated Boston, and then this year
Yeah.
it's a
Yeah.
real game.
Brando, what
Game
did you see in that game 7 there? What did you see?
I mean, for me, it came down to, I think, what is Sam Reinhart, right? That goal that beats Skinner. You know, say what you want about the goal, it somehow got by him, and for me, once that goal, you could tell even with the Verhaeghe goal that Florida was like exhaling. They knew they couldn't believe they had a lead first, and then when they got deeper into the game, it seemed like they were finding themselves, and not in any offensive way, but just defending and selling out, using their face if they can to block pucks. Like it was incredible. It's what you typically see in a late game in Game 7 of Stanley Cup Final, and it was just incredible. It reminded me a lot of the Oilers game against Carolina back in 2006 when it was so tight and Carolina had the lead and just kind of fell back into their defense and played incredibly, and it went the same way sadly for Edmonton.
Yeah.
So Brandon, outside of let's put McDavid aside because I feel like if we're gonna give an answer for who we feel the worst for with this result, I think McDavid should be the answer for everybody. To be honest, outside of him, it sounds like you think Skinner. Is that fair to say?
I wouldn't say that in terms of the overall play. I felt that he
Okay.
handled himself very well. I think that goal he probably would want back. I think a lot of goalies look at that and say that's a tough one. But from what I've heard, it's a tough spot. You know, I think it was under the was it under the blocker side or under the glove side, just kind of inside
hole?
inside his body, really tight. There's not a lot that you can do there. It was just a perfect shot. But for me, it would be Draisaitl, maybe because of his injury status and just he didn't really maybe get the chance to give it his all. I think he probably would look at this series and say, hey, I would have loved to give this one more go or be healthier, right? So
Anybody else here who would say Draisaitl?
Yeah.
Brian, yeah.
Yeah.
A-Dog, okay.
Yeah.
Everybody?
I don't know.
I think I'm Skinner's, but I'm
I
curious
do
about
feel
Draisaitl,
bad.
yeah.
I feel bad for honestly a lot of that team. If we're gonna think, as much as I didn't want to see him lift the cup, I do feel bad for Zach Hyman, who literally had 70 goals this season and took it all the way to Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Finals and just couldn't get it done. Like if he had maybe one more chance, potentially, maybe something else goes in and they're lifting the cup today. So I'll give mine to Zach Hyman.
I'll even
Yeah.
throw
Yeah,
the two D-men, the top
Shout
pair.
out to that guy on Twitter who said he sucked.
Who's that, me?
There's a lot of them. There's a
No,
lot
but
of them, dude.
What's the reporter's name? Who's like, this guy's the worst 50 goal scorer.
Dude, literally anybody in Toronto,
Oh.
like everybody who saw that contract be signed, like Frank Saravalli. I'm not gonna call him out, but I think Frank Saravalli definitely had a tweet like that. He's been catching a lot of flack recently too, so
Yeah.
well.
It's kind
Comes
of
with the territory, bud.
Yeah.
How about the flip side? Who are we happiest for on the Florida Panthers side? I know like four of us here are Leaf fans, so it's hard to be happy for somebody.
There's one answer. There is one answer.
I feel like we do have the same one.
He didn't play on the ice.
Yeah, look at that.
Didn't.
Look at that.
Okay, are we all in agreement there?
5 here? Okay.
Is it
All right.
my boy Pomo?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Shut up.
I think that's where it
Richard.
is. I don't know if you guys been paying attention to they had their parade today, or at least attempted to, with whatever rain they had going on. And I think he started off his speech saying 30 effing years that my wife has been married to this a-hole or something like that. But I remember the first thing I thought was dude, this guy has been in the NHL for 30 years and he's not gonna have a cup if he loses the series. That saved his resume, right? And there is the former Leaf connection there. I was definitely too young to have any sort of appreciation for Paul Maurice as a Leafs coach. But that guy's the greatest. He's the best quote in the league as far as coaches go. So I am happy for him.
7-year-old me was a big Paul Maurice guy.
There you go.
So I was very happy for Maurice to win. And like talking about game 7, I felt like, his team kind of took those punches, but he rallied the troops for the last game. Like I feel like he was probably saying like, hey guys, they fought back, but we're at home. Like let's do this thing. And then they did it. So I had a feeling Florida was gonna win because Maurice is undefeated in game 7s. So just very happy for him. And also, yeah, his speech today was incredible. I don't know if you guys saw his shirt with his 2 cats on it. That was incredible. So yeah, hard not to be happy for that guy.
Is it also not telling the type of person that he is? So immediately wins the cup, does his post-game interview with, I think it was Emily Kaplan, and he takes the time out of his speech. He's probably the happiest moment of his life besides like, maybe his kids being born, and he just wants to shout out his former team, the team that kind of gave him a second lease at life. Like he was, before he went to Winnipeg, he was kind of seen as the coach that just couldn't get it done. Like he spent that time with the Leafs, never had a good goaltender, could never get into the playoffs. He was kind of seen like a bit of like a pariah, and the Jets franchise kind of took a chance on him. Their second time in the league, they're trying to stick again, right? And he spends well over a decade behind the bench. So it's very telling to see like what type of person somebody is when you have to acknowledge all that he's been through, and for him to come out on television and just like thank the city of Winnipeg and wish them the best of luck in probably the greatest
He
moment
didn't
of his
have to
life.
do that, right?
Yeah,
Like that was the
unprovoked.
biggest
Yeah,
thing there.
crazy.
Yeah.
It really
Yeah.
goes to show what type. We've always heard Paul Maurice is a great person off the ice, and I think that probably best exemplifies the type of personality that he is.
Yeah. Brandon, not to pin you as the oldest guy here, but you've probably got the most Pomo memories as far as the Leafs are concerned. Did you think back to any of those when you see him win the cup finally?
No, I definitely have, good memories of him. For me, when he was a coach with the Leafs, it was more like Aiden said, they didn't really have a team that was expected. This isn't the Leafs now. This isn't anything, close to that. He was a guy who was seen as a big players coach, he still is obviously to this day. But yeah, he had a knack for structure, but also defensive hockey. The Leafs back then their way to winning games was through defense. They didn't have, scores. They didn't have high picks. They didn't have, the ability to just go out there and score 3, 4, 5 goals a game, and especially in that era where you were lucky to do so. So he's the longevity he's had, kind of preaching the same thing. It sounds like his structure is similar. Like I think it's great for him and the longevity of it all. Like especially when you look at who Winnipeg went to in Rick Bowness after Maurice, it's quite the similar career, right? So good for him
for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, good on Pomo for sure. Brian, what was your Stanley Cup prediction? I already forgot, but who did you have in the series?
I had Oilers in 7.
Okay. Yeah. So listen, we're gonna. I don't know, what do we call this? A draw? Because these two guys here, Dave and Brando, they both said Cats in 5. So they got that right. They got the team right. Me, A-Dog, Brian, we said 7 games. I think honestly, tiebreaker goes to Dave and Brando. They got the Stanley Cup winner right. Like, I think that's more important than the games, but yeah, that was like it really didn't go how any of us saw it, honestly, right? So
yeah, it really did.
I think that's my main takeaway.
I mean, it almost did, because you guys did see it going 7.
Well,
it's just the way
it almost
that
did
it
twice,
went to
though,
7.
right? It almost went for you guys
exactly
how you had, and then
It's true.
not that me and A-Dog and Brian saw it going 3-0 and then
I think
back to game 7, but
yeah,
crazy.
I don't think anybody could have predicted how it. If you would have said it went to 7, I would have been like, oh, it's going to be back and forth the whole way through.
Yeah.
If you would have told me the Panthers were going to get a 3-0 lead and they weren't going to close it out before the 7th game of the series, I'd look at you like like you have like cake on your face or something. I don't know. Like that's crazy.
Okay, let's close the book on the actual hockey that was played this season. We're going to skip over a lot of the trades and movement that happened in between the Cup final ending and the draft. We'll get back to a lot of that player movement after. But let's focus on the draft itself. And even before talking about the players that were picked, let's just talk about the spectacle that it was and how enjoyable that was. I thought that was great. Like that, the Vegas Sphere. I know that they're apparently like not apparently they announced this in the beginning of the year. They're going to decentralize the draft, not have it be the spectacle it's always been. They got to reverse that decision. Keep it at the Sphere full time every single year. Anybody not agree with that?
No, full hard.
That was that was the most entertaining draft in a while.
Yeah.
Not even due to the players, just the venue was incredible.
100% agree.
100%. Like, so we had the NBA draft like just before it too, right? I caught bits and pieces of that. And maybe I'm just biased for hockey, but I thought like the Vegas Sphere, and we'll talk about kind of the other dramatics that happened with the picks, but that experience was even more enjoyable than something like the NBA draft, which is one of the better drafts. I'm always partial to that jingle. I don't know why. That's the one thing the NHL needs, but it's a huge win for the NHL to even be in the same ballpark as the other leagues, I think, for the draft. MLB, like they can go. I don't even know. Like
they did add they added a trade alert. Like anytime a trade happened,
that was great.
There was like a jingle there, but it's like you went this far,
right? Like
you went this far to get this like the jingle for something that happens maybe like let's say 15% of the time in the draft. Like that's very minuscule in terms of like the whole grand scheme of things. And you couldn't come up with something relatively similar for a pick.
I loved how proud you could tell Gary was of like that trade thing too. Like every time it came, he's like, "Oh, we're getting a lot of use out of this. Oh, this is great!" Like, come on, Gary, you love it too. Let's make this a staple because I think that'd be a huge win, right?
I know that he wasn't only proud about the venue, but he was also, I think, very proud of a lot of the team's special guests that came in to announce their first round picks. I think I don't know if he had a hand in saying, we should try to do this, but I think so. Like the Celine Dion, especially, he was up there looking a little, pretty happy about that one.
Starstruck,
and yeah. So I think that it was just a great experience. I think it is weird that they kind of almost ironed out the kinks for maybe other leagues to come in and do this if they're really going to go to decentralized. But it's definitely something to think about whether or not they're going to keep their thoughts on that. I don't know if anyone saw Bradshaw Living's thoughts on that as well, but it sounds like he voted to go decentralized, but said he loves the in-person draft. So I guess it doesn't really matter how they feel at this point. So
you brought up Celine Dion there. We might as well have the discussion now. I think this is, guys, forget the actual Stanley Cup final. The real Stanley Cup final is Celine Dion versus Michael Buffer. Which pick announcement was better? I think this is going to be like a really polarizing issue here. You have Celine Dion for the Montreal Canadiens. She comes out and she gives a really dramatic speech. She takes out like her note. She coughs a little bit. She really drew it out, and it was awesome. It was awesome. Ivan Demidov. We don't really know if he knew about Celine Dion, to be honest, based off of kind of the remarks he gave after. But
it doesn't seem like he did.
No shot.
Right? Yeah. And then you have the Flyers with their pick. They bring out Michael Buffer in Vegas. He's from Philadelphia. And that was really cool too. That was really, really cool. If I'm going to give my vote here first, I am going to say I'm choosing Michael Buffer. I'm going to give my explanation, but let's hear everybody first, and I'll give kind of my reasoning because I don't know if I'm in the majority there.
Yeah, I can't go against the Canadian queen herself, dude. Like Captain Celine, dude. Yeah, no, she honestly, I know Brian is not in this boat. If they keep doing stuff like that, just make it entertaining. I don't care how they have to do it. If they want to bring celebrity guests, like kind of related to the city, like I could see in the future, like now that they did this. You're not telling me next year that Michael Bublé isn't going to announce a pick for the Vancouver Canucks. He's been so involved with that team for the past like 10 years, let's say. He's announcing a pick next year. If now that this is going to be the standard. So I think a lot of teams are hopefully going to embrace that because there's a lot of talented people from all the cities involved in the NHL. Like obviously I could pick like 3 from Toronto. We've already seen a couple of them. But honestly, it's an addition that I think is going to be good for the near future. I bet you we're going to start having we're going to start getting fatigued about it later on down the line. But honestly, I think that's a conversation for that time. I think we
I
kind of
think
let
the
this
way
one
you
ride out.
I think the way you keep it fresh is you make sure there's like a quota per draft where it's like, listen, only 3 teams can bring in a guest this year. And if
Okay.
you bring in a guest, you can't bring one in next year. And like that way you don't have every single team being like, we have to jump on this bandwagon, who's our guest pick, whatever. I think that's how you keep it fresh if you're gonna do it that way.
I think there was only I think maybe it was 6 or 7 teams this year that not even just a celebrity,
really,
but
exactly. Like this, I think the celebrity thing is what's important there, right?
Mhm.
It's not new that we've had like GMs go to the mic and be like, I'm bringing in this old scout to announce this pick. Like that we've seen a ton. We did see like Joe Thornton. Like that was another one too. I guess you can count that as celebrity. But even then, we've seen like Jonathan Toews announce picks. We've seen that before. Connor
Carey
Bedard
Price.
this year. Carey Price. Yeah, that was not as actually maybe that was great because that was a memorable moment too, to be honest. Guys, Celine Dion or Michael Buffer, A-Dog, Brian, Brando. I'm gonna be alone here. I feel like I'm gonna be alone on this one.
No, you're not alone.
Okay, let's go.
I'm going Buffer. As soon as he said, let's get ready to rumble, I mean, I'm ready to run through a wall. And it's a draft.
You're ready to rumble.
Yeah, I'm ready to rumble as soon as he lets that catchphrase fly. Shout out Celine Dion, but yeah, I'm going Buffer. That was a good moment. That was a good moment. Like I never expect the NHL to do something like that. Like I would expect that to happen in like the NFL. So I thought, yeah, Buffer did really good.
As much as I don't like the Flyers, I have to give it to Michael Buffer as well. They got me at the weighing at 187 pounds. That's when I realized that like this is kind of cool, and it's good to get the Philly guy out there to represent and bring the new drafty into the team.
Fair.
Yeah, I thought Celine Dion did a great job, but I think that it was the whole experience for me. It was seeing Michael Buffer go up there and kind of do his thing. That was amazing. I thought it was awesome. I think they should, I think sparingly once or twice a year. Like obviously, no team is hosting anymore, but if a team was hosting, maybe were to do something like that, that's awesome. But it was kind of awkward having then like I forget what team. One team only sent like 2 guys up there, and they're just like, okay, here we are, we're done. And then they walked out. So it's just like, okay.
Definitely was a far cry from sending up your entire coaching staff plus your entire scouting staff plus this. Dude, I remember, I forget what team it was like a few years ago. They must have had 30 people. It looked like they were accepting an Oscar up there. And they were just
who I think it was?
Pick.
So I think it was Arizona, now Utah. Because do you guys not remember? I remember like Bill Armstrong, like they milked this so hard at one draft. They were like, yeah, we all wear blue suits. It's so cool. We do this thing. Like I remember that being the thing. They brought out everyone in their blue suits. Like, wow, so cool.
They had to get on camera. They had to get on camera so you could put a face to the person who like they wanted to leave Arizona as much as the players did. They were trying to find new jobs.
Okay. My reasoning for going with Michael Buffer over Celine Dion is because Celine Dion is a singer. Michael Buffer is an announcer, and we got Michael Buffer doing the Michael Buffer thing, announcing. We didn't get Celine Dion singing. I think that was the difference for me. Celine Dion did a great job, and this is by a hair that I'm taking Michael Buffer, but we got exactly what Michael Buffer gives you at an actual event, but for an NHL draft. So I think that's why I'm giving him the edge. I think the only thing that could have put Celine over the top is when she said Ivan Demidov. We get an immediate cut to Titanic music in the arena. That would have been incredible.
That would have been
right?
good.
That would have been really, really good. Okay. Presentation, everything aside, because they knocked it out of the park. NHL teams, the actual NHL, well done. The Sphere, shout out to that venue. Let's talk about the actual picks that were made. I guess let's start with our teams here. Ben Danford, guys. Does anybody know anything about Ben Danford as far as the Leafs are concerned? At least coming into this draft. 0 for 4.
A-Dog.
Absolute dog for my hometown Oshawa Generals.
Dog from the Schwa.
Shout out to Schwa.
Yeah.
Big dog, dude.
Other than that,
yeah. Yeah, listen, what we did learn about him is that he has the passion, right? So we learned that in his interview with Jeff Merrick after the fact. He said, he's like, I've been a diehard Leafs fan Always a great sign. That's 2 drafts in a row. Now that Brad's given us that special, I'll be honest, I don't know anything else about him either. We'll get caught off on this guy. Brian, you guys took Tarek Parasak. What pick were you guys? I think like
17.
17? Yeah, 17. He was okay. He was one of 2 guys who looked surprised to get drafted. What did you make about that guy just based off of what you saw on draft night? Assuming you had not seen anything about him before.
It's a big moment for anybody. I mean, um, I can't blame a guy for being shocked for being picked. Like it's a special moment, and you got to just enjoy it. So I know that it's typically not a good sign to be surprised that you're going at round. It's typically not a good sign that you're going at. It's specifically sorry. It's typically not a
It's all
good
good, right?
sign that someone is surprised to be being picked at where they are. But I'm okay with it. I think that it was a chemistry pick because we do have one of his teammates in our organization. But overall, I'm pretty happy with it after looking at the player. I did some research on him after, and I'm okay with it. At first glance, I was a little bit disappointed. I wanted one of the 2 American guys, but it's okay.
Yeah, his little highlight pack did look good there. Okay, if do who is your guys' highlight pick of this draft for whatever reason? Maybe
Dude,
surprise or just your
yeah.
happiest with the match. Who you
If
got?
we're gonna talk about surprises, is there anybody as surprised being picked than Beckett? What's his name? Beckett Seneke?
Seneca.
Beckett Seneca. Yeah,
Seneca?
at 3.
Another
Dude.
gen, another gen, another
Yeah,
gen.
Jen's legend right there,
Lots
buddy.
of schwa content, man.
Lots of schwa
One of the
content.
one of the best nights in Oshawa history.
It might be.
I'll give my my 2 winners here.
Go.
The Flames being the winner number 1 and the Sharks being winner number 2. Not because of Mac and Celebrini, obviously that was a give me, but because of the fact that they draft Sam Dickinson from the London Knights. That guy had a great season in OHL. But the Flames got Zane
Zane
Perrick.
Perrick.
Unbelievable. That guy looks so good.
Underrated as well. In the
You
fifth
told us
round,
that
in the fifth
Who
round,
did
they
get?
got Michael Misa from the Brampton,
Oh.
then Mississauga, now Brampton Steelheads, who had, I think it was 90 points in the O this year. So I thought I was under the impression that he was gonna get like mid 3rd to late 3rd, maybe early 4th, and they kind of got him in the 5th. So I think that was another that could be another potential one in the future. Brampton's got a couple studs coming up. Let me tell you guys.
Unfortunately, yeah, we don't rep Brampton. Like, there needs to be a Woodbridge OHL team. That would be really cool. But Brampton's the closest we got, me and Dave at least, and Brian. But Brian doesn't care about Leo. They also took Andrew Basha, the Flames. I think it was like 3rd round pick, and that guy apparently is a Flames fan. He had voiced that or whatever. He wanted to be picked by the Flames. And this is another one. I don't know if you guys saw this, and I can't remember the guy's name. But there was a guy who in his post-draft interview said that he went to like a mind reader in December, and the mind reader told him, "I see the city of Calgary in your future." And I think this guy is American. And
Poor
that's what
guy.
the mind reader told him in
Poor
December.
guy. Imagine going from small town
Yeah.
Wisconsin or wherever you're from to Calgary,
Yeah.
Alberta.
Dude got a bad omen in December, I guess. Yeah. But if I gotta pick a winner, I hate to say it, but it's Montreal. They got Demidov, and then they also got Michael Hage. I did not know the Michael Hage story before the draft, but after learning it, it's tough to not feel good about that story. His father passed away last year. The entire family were Montreal fans, and they moved up to get him. Right, that they made that move with LA prior to the draft. And they landed him, and you could just tell that meant a lot for him, his entire family. Tough to go wrong with that pick, and he seems like he's a pretty good freaking prospect as well. Brandon, who do you got?
For me, I would have taken Montreal had you not, but
Sorry, buddy. Sorry.
no worries. The team before that pick before that, it's for me actually. They were tempted. It sounds like to potentially move their pick at number 4, and it sounds like they held off. I think Caden Lindstrom is going to really help them down the middle. They've obviously had struggle scoring historically, but I think that they're actually starting to build a bit of a foundation. I was a big fan of Adam Fantilli when they picked him, and then I thought had a great start to his career. And I think having Caden Lindstrom as well, like give them a few years and hopefully some smart building, and they'll actually potentially have something that is worth growing. And then if I was on it, would be quickly the New Jersey Devils. I thought what is it, Anton Silyev I thought at 10
Yep.
he was I thought he was left a little too late. I would have liked to have seen some of the. I wouldn't really know who exactly.
I would have said
Maybe
Ottawa because I think
Ottawa was who
Yakimchuk
I was just looking at.
yeah.
They obviously
Yeah.
went with the offensive defenseman ahead of bigger, stronger defenseman there. So for me, that would have been the second team that I would have mentioned as well.
If I'm gonna pick a player, TJ Gimla. I think that's the guy I'm super happy for. Just go that high in the draft. It would have been awesome if he went to Calgary too. That would have been the cherry on top, obviously. But that guy comes from a crazy family. His sister's apparently, I think, a world junior. Like she's in hockey as well. I think they won a medal recently. That they're just athletes galore in that family. So tough to not feel really happy for him. We're gonna go ahead and take a break. That wraps up all of our draft discussion. Afterwards, we're going to get into basically a team by team analysis of everything that's happened since we last spoke on the eve before free agency. So we'll see you then. All right, we're back from our break. Like I said, we're going to give a team by team breakdown here. And just for reference, we're going to start in the Pacific, move to the Central, the Metro, and Atlantic, but finish with the teams that we follow the most here. So Washington and Toronto. To start us off, it's going to be very light on this one. I don't really know if we have anything, to be honest. It's the Anaheim Ducks. They really haven't done anything except sign, I'm looking now, Isaac Lundestrom to a $1.5 million deal. That is it. So I don't really think we have any other thoughts on that.
They did do something. They did something.
They didn't qualify Max Comtois either.
Well, I was thinking a little bit off ice related, but
no, that was Carolina. Yeah.
Oh,
for Comtois, yeah.
Anaheim.
Yeah. What do you have, Brad?
Yeah. What do you think about the orange? Like the new shirts?
Dude.
One to 10 guys.
Yeah, I'll be very quick on this. I think it's too much orange. Should have went black helmets. Should have went black pants. Would look a lot better. The jersey itself looked good on draft night. It did, but the whole fit is too much orange. It is.
I give it a 7 out of 10.
See that when it's on the guys. 6.5 for me. 6.5. I'm a little low on them.
Brandon?
I don't like them either. I'm 6. Give me like a 6 on those. I don't like them.
Aiden?
Love the jersey. Yeah, you got to go black pants. At least for home. I think the away jerseys. It is
nice. I like the away.
The way I'll give a 9 out of 10.
Really?
Home. I think you need different color pants.
And Dave, finish it off.
Give me 5s for each, dude. Go back to eggplant and teal. God, I thought that I was so excited for them to go back to the. I was so excited for them to go back to their old color scheme, and then they just never did. And whatever. They look like giant pylons. Get a better team first. Yeah, they suck.
Okay, on the Calgary front now. This is another team who hasn't really done anything. We last spoke about the Jacob Markstrom trade. Stuff that hasn't happened but might. We've heard about Nazem Kadri news. His name might be out there. Maybe floating him around. I think he has a full no move clause though. I don't know. Do we have any immediate thoughts there? Because to be honest, we'll have to see what happens. That's something for the future.
No, yeah, that's about it. That's the last thing we heard. Was that he was being shopped around, but like 6 years, 8 per. Is it not 8 per season for him?
I think it's 7. I think it was a 7 by 7 guy. Yes.
Yeah, so he's got 6 more years with that. I don't think anybody's really gonna touch that right now.
We'll see. There needs to be more info on that one there. Edmonton Oilers, they have started making moves. Big one today, buying out Jack Campbell. Obviously, Leaf connection there. Immediate thoughts as that happened today. Jack Campbell being bought out by the Oilers.
Lovely guy. I feel for him.
Yeah.
Bring him back to Toronto for locker room vibes.
Yeah, it's
We're gonna make a new position for him. Associate locker room vibes coach.
Yeah.
Make him the DJ.
I don't know. I'd be surprised. I don't know. It's so hard to read these days because there was clearly something going on. Like I don't think it was clearly just he just lost it. Like I think there was more to. He did the similar thing in Toronto. I think I wouldn't be surprised if he got another shot somewhere, but I don't know if it's in his best interest to try right away. I think he maybe needs to step back and evaluate what he wants to do and then go from there because that's really what it's about.
I just
go ahead.
I love the guy, like just as a person. Like when he was in Toronto, he's like I don't even know if there's ever been another player with like post game interviews or anything, like it makes like me emotional. I don't know, there's something
Him
about
plus
something,
Reimer would have been the
yeah,
ultimate like vibes duo,
something
right?
something about Soupy Campbell. I love the guy.
I get it. I get it. So the buyout in terms of the structure here, Oilers are on the hook for 1.1 next year, 2.3 after that, 2.6, and then 3 years at 1.5. He had 3 years left on his deal of 5 million. So you multiply that term by two, he'll be on their books for 6 years. We'll see where he ends up. Moving on from Edmonton. Oh yeah, and just the other thing I wanted to mention on Edmonton, I think the last we heard is that not Ken Holland, because that was another move that was made. He's not returning. But Jeff Jackson is going to try really hard to basically resign as many of his free agents as he can. And I guess that makes sense, right? Like this team went to the Stanley Cup final. They probably should be interested in bringing back all of as many guys as they can. After that, we've got the LA Kings. The LA Kings traded for Tanner Jeannot. Immediate thoughts on acquisition of Tanner Jeannot by the LA Kings.
He needed a change up.
Tough look for the Lightning. Traded,
That's true.
traded like 20 picks to get him, and now he's gone for like 3. So
Yeah, tough look for Julian Brisebois. As much as like, you know, he got all the credit after taking over for Stevie. It's always good to see one of your bitter rivals kind of look like with got mud all over their face, basically. Yeah, he definitely needed a change of scenery. I think Brian just said that. Yeah. I don't know. I don't think he's actually like a bad player. I think he's a useful player, probably just getting a bit overpaid. And like for the amount that they paid for him, not a good look, but still a useful guy.
They also changed their jerseys,
Yeah,
This
the
is
Kings
another
did too.
team, yeah.
I forgot about that.
and I
So
hate
weird.
them.
I like them better than the Ducks. The stripe is a little too thick, I think, on the torso there. I just shortened it a bit, and it would have been fine. The logo, I think, it's a little chubby. They changed it. It's not as angular as it used to be in the '90s. That's everything else to me is a nitpick. But the Matt helmets, I think that was a big one. I think people do like that, right?
That is nice. Yeah, I'll give him that.
Yeah. So listen, Tanner Jeannot obviously went to Tampa Bay for a first, second, third, fourth, and fifth. And yeah, he was traded to LA and Tampa acquired a fourth and second. But yeah, we'll see what Tanner Jeannot can do for the LA Kings. Moving on from there, San Jose Sharks. Obviously, this is the team that had the first overall pick. They got Carl Grundstrom, a former Leaf from LA, actually, and LA got Cal Bros in that deal. I think this is kind of minor. Do we have anything on that deal, Carl Grundstrom? I think you guys remember when Babcock was like, "This guy's going to play on Austin Matthews' wing." Remember that proclamation that he made once upon a time?
yeah, well, we'll never hear from that guy again. Good luck in Alcatraz, pal.
Good
See you
looking
in Alcatraz.
Azkaban, buddy.
The other move, this was the big one, actually. This is the one that kind of had everybody like, what the hell is going on before the draft? Jake Wallman traded with a second to San Jose from Detroit for future considerations from the San Jose side
Hate
of things.
that guy.
We'll get to Detroit. Yeah, I know, right? From the San Jose side of things, what do we have on this one?
A plus.
Yeah, I don't know how they managed to finesse a pretty solid defender out of Detroit when Detroit's kind of got they're starting to have a bit of a rotting carcass on their back end. You know, they got the ghosts of Ben Sherrod and Jeff Petrie back there, and also Justin Hall. Like, ooh, man, Jake Wallman could have been somebody that they could have used. So I don't know what Mike Greer said to get Stevie to give up Jake Wallman, but he must have put on some black magic or something, because I don't know what that was.
That's one where it's like, forget if you're like a Leaf fan. If you're a fan of any team in the NHL, you're like, why didn't my GM get in on this? Right? Like that's a crazy deal there. Okay, moving on from there, from San Jose, we go to Seattle. Seattle haven't really done much of anything at all. So
Are
we'll
they
skip
still
them.
in? Are they still in the league?
I know, right? It's been really quiet on the Seattle front, and I remember, I think it was Ron Francis. Like he was like, "Yeah, we want to do big things this summer." So we'll see what those big things are because yeah, they haven't done it yet. Vancouver Canucks, they've made a bunch of signings honestly since we last spoke, bringing back Teddy Bluger, Dakota Joshua, and Tyler Myers, trying to retain a lot of the team that did pretty well this year. Anything on Teddy Bluger, Dakota Joshua, or Tyler Myers, guys?
Solid.
I like
They
I like Joshua.
Yeah, keep
You
it
know,
consistent.
yeah,
they're all
he's someone
value
I
signings.
yeah, he's someone I could have seen maybe the Leafs going after, but I think he's found a spot in Vancouver.
I
Even
think
the
two things for
Myers
me.
deal, I think.
Yeah.
Sorry, Christian. I think that's for me. Like that was the solid money, solid term. It makes sense. He's found a home. I was surprised that he's fit in there for as long as he has. Like he's been a solid guy for them. I think it makes sense. Go ahead.
It's crazy to think like he signed a 6x6 all those years ago, right? And he survived
Yeah.
it. No buyout,
Yeah.
no nothing. He played it. Didn't go on LTIR or anything like that. And yeah, 3x3 for him. Dakota Joshua got 3.25 times 4. If I'm gonna actually highlight one here, it's gonna be Teddy Bluger at 1.8 times 2. I think last year he was making more than that. Yeah, 1.9. So I thought he played way better this year than he did last year. He got traded from Pittsburgh to Vegas last year after like being healthy scratched at times, only to sign for a discount. And to me, from the Leaf perspective, it's like that guy gives you David Kampf kind of play. And they got him for a bit cheaper there. That's the one thing that kind of came to mind when I saw that one come through, to be honest. Not gonna lie. Not gonna lie. Vegas, I don't think Vegas did much of anything. Actually, what am I saying? Brian, they did do something. What do we think from the Vegas side of things? Trading away Logan Thompson to the Washington Capitals.
I think their hand was forced. He actually asked for a trade, and I think that he needed a fresh restart. Ironically enough, we actually had Logan Thompson to begin with. That's where he started his career with us, so it's nice to see him back. But I don't know if you guys saw, but Alexi Protas's brother was like up to get drafted. He was at the draft for his brother, obviously, and they actually had a little meeting because Logan Thompson was doing an autograph signing, and while he was doing the autograph signing, he got traded. So, but
That was a crazy one
Very,
to see.
very crazy story. He was like signing. I heard he was like signing all like autographs and stuff, and people were just like, hey, well, I mean, best of luck like going forward. And he's like, yeah, like I hope to like see you guys again soon, like, you know what I mean, stuff like that. It's like, oh, I feel like kind of feel bad for the guy, but at the end of the day, it is a business. Like the kind of like the machine doesn't stop for anybody. And yeah, honestly, man, I really see Logan Thompson improving on the Caps. I'm pretty intrigued for that.
and specifically staying on Vegas, I really like the moves they did. Drafting Trevor Connolly was a high risk, high reward play. That's kind of like the Vegas style, high risk, high reward, kind of like gambling. When looking at also the other move with acquiring Alex Holtz, hopefully he can get something started there because the potential is there. It's just a matter of if it does happen or not.
Yeah, Alex Holtz is one of those guys, honestly, who I thought was a can't miss prospect. I was really curious to see where he would go in that draft. Yeah, like he's got a hell of a shot on him, mind you. Not a lot else. That everything else is still waiting to develop. But I do think that's a perfect fit in Vegas, right? They do need cheap depth. And yeah, they traded Paul Cotter in that deal and a third, but Akira Schmid, Alex Holt, not bad overall. And now we can go to the Central, Chicago. What did Chicago do here? Chicago hasn't really done. Oh, actually, once again, Ilya Mikheyev, guys, Sam Lafferty. These guys are Chicago Blackhawks now. Let's talk about that.
Congrats. Welcome to the I mean, yeah, Ilya Mikheyev got put in the position of doing too well and like, just getting like an overinflate. He has a bad contract. Let's not put it lightly. If he had any more finish, he'd probably be roughly around whatever his contract's at. Like he'd be around that mark, but he's just too streaky to be earning that type of money on a contending team. So to kind of go to Chicago, probably get top 6. I'm assuming he's going to get top 6 minutes. Like there's nobody else there. Who else is there to play top 6?
I think the main storyline with the Mikheyev move was that he actually waived his no movement clause to go to Chicago. or he had Chicago in his no trade list or something like that. But I guess you can sell anybody to join that team by saying Connor Bedard. So
Yeah. I mean, what better? I mean, he could have had a pretty good time in Vancouver, but I think like the writing was on the wall there. You know what I mean? So if you know the team is actively trying to like force you out, why not maybe take your chance? I know some players don't see it that way, but you know, I guess he kind of sees it as an opportunity to he's gonna get his money regardless. So like that's a given. But I guess, you know, get more play,
I
get
could also
maybe get
totally see. I could also totally see McCabe being flipped in a year or two at the trade deadline again,
for
50%
sure,
retained, and
for
yeah.
sure.
Moving on to Colorado, they had one move, signing Casey Middlestat to an extension. I believe he was an RFA. They got ahead of it, 5.75 times 3 for Casey Middlestat, 47 points in 62 games of Buffalo before being traded to Colorado at the deadline, 10 points, 18 games in the regular season, 9 points in 11 playoff games. Do we like Casey Middlestat extended at 5.75?
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
That's
good move.
Oh yeah. If Colorado wants to do any more contending in the future, I think Casey Middlestat's probably going to be a big reason why they're going to be around the just around it. I don't know if I could sit here and say like they're already going to be like early cup favorites, but I mean, you have Nate Mack, you have McCarr, adding a guy like Casey Middlestat as like a secondary / tertiary piece on that team is, and for like what is it? What do you say, 5 mil? Like just over 5 mil?
5.75, yeah.
5 point. So hair under, let's say hair under 6. That's great value, I think.
I don't think Middlestat has any protection either. So if it doesn't go well, he can go to Arizona or Utah now.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is still like he's proved himself on Buffalo, but like he still has to quote unquote prove himself, I think, in Colorado full time. So it's a bridge deal. That's what it is. So we'll see. And it walks into UFA, and that'll be when he's in line for a huge contract if things go well there. Okay. Uh, Dallas. Dallas traded the rights of Chris Tanev to Toronto. From a Dallas side of things, how do we feel about that? What does that mean about what was going on there?
It means Matthew Shane wants a lot of money.
That's fair.
Yeah, it's a smart move if you're gonna lose him anyway. If you can get anything back, I think it's a good move for Dallas. I was I was out of the loop on being able to trade for someone's signing rights. Like, does anyone know when that became a thing?
Yeah, I think you could always have done it. The thing where the confusion was coming was the 7-year deal versus 8-year deal, and
Okay.
why for the Leafs, for example, or like Tampa, we'll get to them. Jake Gensel, they can't sign those guys to 8-year deals because I think Brian, you were saying like they have to have played a game or be on
One
the
game
reserve
after the trade
list
deadline.
one game. Yeah, okay, and yeah. So the reason I think Kachuk last year in that deal for not that last year, 2 years ago with Huberdeau. That was Calgary signing to an extension and then trading him to Florida. So that's the how a sign and trade would work. This would just be getting the rights to negotiate, and with that, you don't get to do that 8-year deal. So let's say Chris Tanev went to market tomorrow. Dallas could actually still offer him an 8-year deal. Same thing with Gensel in Carolina. So it's complicated there for sure. The other move they made was buying out Ryan Suter. And then this buyout, this is more of a hefty one. Actually, that was his last buyout I'm looking at here. It's 833 for the next 4 years. So nothing crazy. Or actually, no, that's the Minnesota one. 783 next year and 1.43 2 years after that. He's, I think, the only player to be being paid from 2 buyouts at the same time, right? So I think that's what we
I
learned about Ryan Stewart, to be honest.
honestly, if you're a playoff team and you want a cheap swing, I think he's a good pickup. He wasn't awful in the playoffs, and he's still pretty good defensively, I'd say. So why not? Someone else is paying his wages, so
Yeah, you can't go wrong when somebody else is paying for him. Yeah. Minnesota didn't really do anything crazy. They got Jacob Lauko from the Bruins. Who did they trade there? I traded Vinny Lettieri in a fourth. Not much. We'll see what Minnesota does. Nashville. What has Nashville done?
Saros.
Yeah, that's a huge one.
Yeah, big one.
Saros extension. What's the number on that one, guys? Do we have that?
Is it
Well,
7.85
I'd have to pull
x8
it
or
up.
something. That's off the top of my head, but
Yeah, I'm looking for it here right now too. It is.
He's
I'm not
on.
seeing it here on Capcom yet.
Where's the thing? Oh,
'cause he
that's another thing.
can't sign it.
It technically
Yeah.
isn't signed. 'Cause I was looking at this
Oh
yesterday. I was
my
trying to
God.
look for it. That's right. But it is like it's 8 years. It's like I think it's like 7 and something.
It's in the
7
sevens,
change.
right? I think it's
I'm seeing
7.75, right?
I'm seeing 8 years,
Yeah.
just on 62 million. So yeah, that would make sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've seen like both sides of this coin where people are saying this is too much and that's a steal. Where do you guys land on that?
I don't know if it's a steal, but at the very least, you got the proven quantity. Like you know what you're going to be getting out of UC Saros. He's been pretty consistent over his NHL career. I don't know if you're getting any cap savings on it. Like it's not like he took ridiculously less to eventually build another contender. I think it's a fair contract. I don't think it's an overpayment. I don't think it's an underpayment either. I think it's fair.
The only concern
Yeah,
for me is that it raises questions of Askarov.
Yeah.
Askarov should be coming up within the next 1, 2, 3 years. There's no way he waits 8. So, does that mean Askarov's on the block? I know he was last year's draft, but maybe this year he's on it too. We'll see.
it definitely sounds like he will be available in some capacity, whether or not Nashville decides to deal him right away or wait a little bit and see if they can maybe finagle some more assets later on when a team really needs a goalie. I think that's something that could happen potentially, but I think I agree with Dave. It was fair. It's about right. I think with the number, he's in the top echelon of guys, and I think the way that contracts are done now, it's
Yeah.
All right, moving on. St. Louis Blues. They traded Kevin Hayes to Pittsburgh, and they got Alexander Texier from the Columbus Blue Jackets. That deal there, the Texier deal, that's an interesting one to me, just because I remember when that guy was helping shut the Leafs down in that bubble series against Columbus, and then obviously went back overseas, came back this year, didn't do great, and now he's in St. Louis. So, any thoughts on Texier or them moving Kevin Hayes? It's a weird. The Kevin Hayes thing is weird because they just got him last year.
Is
So-
Pittsburgh just like the league's retirement home?
I saw somebody say like this has Cutter Gauthier written all over it because everyone was saying like, oh yeah, Kevin Hayes is why Cutter Gauthier got traded from Philly. Yeah, I don't know what Kyle Dubas is doing there at the retirement home. Yeah, we'll get to the retirement home in a bit. Okay.
Sorry. One last
Yeah.
thought. That Columbus Blue Jackets team, 2020, scrappy
Yeah.
bunch. Leafs had no
Oh
shot.
yeah.
Yeah, scrappy. They were scrappy. Wish we could use some of that scrap right
Yeah.
now, man. I'm not gonna lie.
Okay, this is a big one here. We're going to dedicate a decent amount of time to it. Utah, they did a lot. I joked that to me Ryan Smith looked like, I don't know, like punk version of like John Cooper at the draft. That's kind of what I saw going on there. And then he makes a trade with John Cooper's team. Mikhail Sergachev is going to be a Utah player. They trade JJ Moser, Connor Geeky, a 2nd and 7th to Tampa Bay to get Mikhail Sergachev. What is Utah getting in this guy?
Sergachev?
Yeah.
Oh, they're getting like a top 10 in the league. That's what they're getting.
I
think he's
feel like
so
you're
good.
higher on him than us. I don't know. Like I don't know
I
if
don't
I'm
know if
saying
it's top 10 player.
Yeah.
I think he's
Top
so
10
good.
defenseman.
Sorry, yeah, top 10
I'm not even
defenseman.
saying that. I'm not even saying that. I don't think.
He's a top 2 defenseman on most teams, I would say.
He's a 1 on most teams.
Oh, okay.
Like, I think he's so good. And the fact that they're just getting him for a B-tier prospect, the second and somebody else, like, I don't know. I think that more teams should have been on that if that was the cost.
Yeah.
I know Tampa had to do it to, make money for Gensel that might be coming in like an hour or two. But I honestly think that Utah, that's gonna take some time to get used to. Yeah, they got away with the bank robbery, like legitimate robbery.
Yeah, I think it's a great move. I think obviously Geeky was one of their top young guys, but I think a move like this for an established D-man like Sergachev really accelerates their rebuild. So yeah, I thought it was a great move. I expect them to make maybe one more, a couple, maybe multiple splashes here in free agency. I like the way Ryan Smith's approaching his first couple months here in Utah.
It reminds me of how Vegas started out. Just right away, just flipping players, making signings, just doing what they can to get competitive, and it worked out for Vegas. So maybe it will work out for
It's
Arizona or Utah.
it's a lethal combo to have all those picks that they've got and being able to weaponize them because they're willing to spend money, right? That's
Yeah.
the thing we don't usually see. A
Plus,
team with this
30
many
mil.
picks,
30
yeah,
million cap
but
space, basically.
30 mil that they're willing to spend,
To use.
right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's a deadly combo. I think the Vegas comparison is good because they manufactured that combo as soon as they entered the league. But yeah, I think that is a good comp there. I don't know. I think JJ Moser. I mean, actually, we'll get to him with Tampa. They made other moves as well. John Marino from New Jersey. This deal was 2 second-round picks for John Marino. I actually this is another one where I'm like Leafs maybe be in on that. I don't know. I like the John Marino move as well for Utah. Anybody have Marino thoughts before we get to another Utah move?
I think he's solid. I think that's
Was
a good move, and the underpaid.
I was very 3 years gonna be like top, yeah, maybe not the top tier guy, but I was like this guy super solid. And he has under a little bit too much jersey, but I think in Utah that's for him, especially can't necessarily.
Brandon, I think we're losing you there a bit. If you want to try fixing the audio, but yeah, like
Yeah.
I get what you're saying. That I think Marino, like he was a guy that was on the up and up, moved from Pittsburgh, and then he actually had a really good season in New Jersey that first one. And then I think this year kind of wishy washy. But like that's a bet that I would have made. Like he's a right hand shot, and I don't think they got him at like some exorbitant price, like 2 second rounds. I think that's about right for what you should pay for him. This is another deal. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, if you include the Jersey signing, they like solidified their top four, I'd say, for the next how many years? Maybe for the next 6 years for the future. I like the move.
Yeah,
Plural.
like that could be a pairing right there, right? Sergachev Marino. You acquired a potential top pair. How often does that happen, especially in the span of just a couple days, right? And then the
Within
last
the
move they made,
span of a couple hours. Those two trades happen within like an hour or two of each
you're
other.
right. You're right. And last move, also on the blue line, Jersey signed an extension. This is something we were talking about. It happened today. 6 million times 4. Brian, I want you to go first here because you feel a certain way about this one.
I think that they definitely gave him a little bit too much money. The term was fair at 4, but 6 million for Jersey is a lot. Where they break even is, I guess, because Keller's on such a good contract. Cooley's on his ELC still for another 2 more years. So you can save a little bit there, and the cap's going up. It's not that bad, but 6 for Jersey, a guy that plays maybe top 4 minutes at most, it's a lot.
He's young.
Anybody else feel a way about our boy Jersey here, our former Leaf?
Yeah. I mean, listen, he's young. He's only improved, I believe, like throughout his run here. Yeah, it's probably a bit of an overpayment, but I guess here's the thing, like I know you want to manage your cap as best as possible, but for like Sean Durzi kind of being the only guy to be really attached to, like there's only a handful of those guys that are like attached to the Arizona days. I guess this is also kind of like doing right by the guys that you've brought in. Like Sean Durzi signed there. He was traded to there, and then I think he signed a bit of an extension. Was it last year, or did he just sign in free agency last year?
Last year was the trade. I think last year was his only year in Arizona. Yeah.
Okay. Well,
This
I
is
mean,
yeah.
yeah, I think he's only going to improve, honestly. Only 3 years, and I thought he's been in the league a bit longer, but he's only been in the league for 3 seasons, and the past 2 years, 9 goals apiece, 38 points 2 years ago, 41 points last year. So definitely has some offensive upside that might only continue to get better with time. So we'll see.
Brando, any thoughts on Jersey or what we missed out on with Marino?
No, funny enough, I was saying that Marino coming with Sergachev was the best situation for him. I don't think without Sergachev, it's really that, impactful of a move, but with him, I think it is. And Jersey the same. I think they're paying him kind of with the expectation that he's going to maybe grow into that $6 million number, as opposed to him being that right now. I think that kind of gives him a little bit of time to reach that and really hit his potential. He's I'd say grown significantly over the last 2 years, so it makes sense.
Yeah, I honestly think 6 mil is not that far off of market value. Like maybe somewhere between 5.5 on a 4-year term. But like Dave said, your cap is never going to be perfect. And if there's one takeaway I had from the Stanley Cup final, I think other people have said this as well. It's you can win with dead cap space, right? The Oilers are right there with Jack Campbell on the books, with a lot of people saying that Darnell Nurse is overpaid. Florida Panthers, Spencer Knight, not even on the team, right? Making 4.5 mil. So if you're going to overpay 1 mil, especially if you have all this cap space, I don't think that's the end of the world, especially for a guy as young as Jersey is. Okay. Last team here is the Winnipeg Jets. Winnipeg bought out Nate Schmidt. Brian, you've got a Nate Schmidt connection. What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, I think that Nate Schmidt's a good player. He was really good for us, and I was really sad to lose him. But in regards to Winnipeg buying him out, I think that he just wasn't the right fit for them. I also just wanted to mention that so the Jets have a prospect in Rutger McGorty, and he will be returning to the University of Michigan for his 3rd year. And apparently, he's not going to be at the development camp. I think that team should be sniffing up on him, and maybe he wants to play with Ryan Leonard again. So we'll see.
We did hear, I think it was Montreal. Friedman said
No.
this, that Montreal was looking at him. Yeah, because Ken Hughes, he's that
No.
US guy too. So yeah, we'll see there. Rutger McGorty is on the trade block for any team. Yeah. I think Nate Schmidt, this is another guy, Leaf connection. I remember when Nate Schmidt was first with you guys, Brian, on the Caps against us. That's 2016-17. And you guys traded for Kevin Shattenkirk. Yeah, he was the 7D. You guys traded for Kevin Shattenkirk, and then Nate Schmidt I thought played better than Shattenkirk in that series. And goes on to Vegas. He's one of their defensemen in their cup run against you guys. I am a Nate Schmidt fan, honestly. Listen, he was making 6 mil. That's way too much, but I do think there's more left in the tank there. And I hope he lands somewhere where he can prove that he still got that in the tank. If I'm going to take a guess, I know Kyle Dubas was a big fan of him as well. He was really clamoring before he was actually the GM. He was trying to push Lou Lamoriello to get Nate Schmidt after playing against him in that series. Didn't happen, but maybe in Pittsburgh he gets his shot at him. And then the other move was Dylan DeMello. He got an extension, 4 years at $4.9 million. This is a guy that maybe was on Leafs list. Did any of you guys want him, Dylan DeMello? Or Brian, you sound like you want him.
He's a budget Chris Tanev.
I don't know about budget because Tanev's going to get that too. Younger Chris Tanev. You want to go with that maybe?
Fair. I like the signing. It's good to pair him up with Morrissey just so that Morrissey can just do his thing offensively. It's interesting to see that people do want to stay in Winnipeg now, because I feel like there was a major shift that started this season and it's continuing this year, except for McGorty. So
that's the US trend, right? That's yeah. There's a whole conversation we're gonna have there in the offseason. I think DeMello, my comp for him is just right-handed TJ Brody.
that's a better comp than mine.
Comes to mind for me, because you said it. You're just stick him to Josh Morrissey and call it a day. that's what the Leafs did with TJ Brody and Morgan Riley for basically every year until this one. So that's kind of what came to mind there. Okay, any other thoughts, guys? Before we take a break and then get to the Eastern Conference? We're all good here.
And that's about it.
Yeah.
Okay. Take a break and hit you up with the Eastern Conference teams. Okay, we are back. We are now going to look at the Eastern Conference teams starting in the Metro. Carolina Hurricanes first up here. They haven't done much outside of one move, that is trading the rights for Jake Gensel to the Tampa Bay Lightning and getting back a third-round pick. There was talk that there might have been an 8x8 deal, not agreed to, but kind of maybe left aside and be like, okay, we've got that in our back pocket for both sides. And obviously things changed here. Jay Gensel gone from Carolina. What kind of backup plan might they have, and how does that losing Gensel impact them here?
I really don't know what their backup plan is. I thought he was the perfect piece they needed to contend for years to come. I think losing him is tough. I thought if they could have got a deal done, it would have kept them near the top of the East. I'm sure they'll still be a good team next year, but yeah, I'm kind of unsure what they do next.
Anybody else on Gensel?
I'm in the same boat as you. I'm just a little surprised that Carolina just shaving away half the roster. We know Nikas is being traded soon. It's going to be a brand new Hurricanes roster like next year, which is odd given their success the past couple of years. Carolina, we see as a premier organization these days, and it's also going to be that was actually Tulski's first major decision. So it's interesting to see why he thought letting a premier forward in the league go like that for basically nothing.
I don't know if that's is that his first major decision? Like, I feel like he's always had his hand in part of like the makeup of that team. I think now it's time for a shake. Like, there's a few teams on like that are going to be going into this UFA window that are looking to shake up. Like the Leafs are one of them. Like they've kind of been stuck in a rut for 8 years now, and it also feels like Carolina's had the much more success than the Leafs. So I'm not going to paint them in the same boat, but it's always like getting to that final hurdle. They just can't seem to overcome it. So not that I agree with the decision to, kind of let Gensel, not that they're letting him walk, but they kind of conceded. They saw the writing on the wall. Maybe this is actually going to be a good thing for the Carolina Hurricanes going forward. Like now, maybe they have a chance to shake up. They have a couple core pieces and then fill in the rest again, basically. Maybe start something new. And we'll see. I don't know. I don't think it's all doom and gloom for the Hurricanes. It might be a bit of a tough season for them, but if they can at least like reproduce some goal scoring, basically, right? They have some work to do. I'm hopeful. That's where I'll put them. I'm hopeful for the Hurricanes going forward.
Maybe what we see there is Stamkos end up in Carolina now, right?
Yeah,
so
maybe
could see. And I would also say like with Tulski, we don't really know if it's him making this decision as much as it is Gensel kind of going back on saying 8x8's going to get it done to changing his mind, which is just right. I would have said I'm surprised that he's even down to do an 8x8. That doesn't really make sense to me because he can 100% get more in the open market. Seems like he kind of came to his senses there. Next up, New Jersey Devils. Didn't do anything crazy. Paul Carter, we talked about that he got in the Alexander Holtz deal. Jonathan Kovacevic from the Montreal Canadiens was another deal that went down today. Kovacevic, another guy that Leafs, come on, why aren't you talking there? Outside of that, do we have anybody's thoughts on the Devils? I don't really think they did too much. We're kind of waiting for the move that's supposed to come tomorrow with Brett Pesce. He's been heavily linked there, so we'll see what happens there.
I wanted to say
Yep.
that the Devils probably got a great pick in this year's draft, Anton Salayev, with Nemec, Luke Hughes. That's like three premier
Pesce.
defensive prospects.
Yeah.
Pesce might be coming soon. We'll see. But
Dougie Hamilton. I feel like we forget about Dougie Hamilton. all the
We do.
time.
I do all the time. But those are three
Yeah.
premier defensive prospects. I don't think that we've ever seen a team have a surplus of grade A defensive prospects like ever. I don't remember the last time, and the fact that they have three of them is kind of crazy.
I think the team that comes to mind is like Nashville when they had like freaking Seth Jones, Shea Weber,
Right.
Roman Yossi, Matthias Ekholm. Like that's a Ryan Ellis. Like holy crap! Looking back, that's crazy. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see if it goes as well for the Devils. New York Rangers, another team, haven't done anything, but it's all about the talk of what could happen. Jacob Trouba on the block asked for his modified no movement clause, or the teams that would be on it. Because right now he's in full no move clause. It changes on July 1. Apparently he's not too happy about the idea of moving from the Rangers. Polarizing player. I'm sure we got polarizing thoughts here. What are we saying?
I'm surprised that he's surprised that they asked for the list. Um, so he is the captain, but he also makes $8 million. And given the Rangers' success the past couple of years, I think that the Rangers do need a bit of a shakeup, maybe specifically in that back end. Trouba clearly loves being a Ranger. I don't see why not, why he wouldn't. He has all the star power there, and he does a pretty good job with the fans, from what I understand. It just sucks to see a guy love a place and then they just want to ship him out. It gives me Ryan McDonough vibes when Tampa had to dump him to Nashville a couple years ago or last year.
Minus the 2 cups.
Oh yeah, keep those cups away from New York. Yeah.
Yeah.
I would agree.
I
I
don't
mean,
know.
that I think that with Trouba, it's just a matter of finding the right spot. I would imagine like if he's got his teams, and from what I've heard, it sounds like maybe Detroit is one team that they're working with. I'm sure there are others, but I think that for him, it's just finding the right fit. I don't know what he's looking for specifically. He probably wants to go win somewhere, and that's what it'll come down to. But it's just, I think, time. I think he's kind of run his course there, and it's just going to be one of those things.
Hey dog, I feel like you a Trouba fan or not? I feel like you got opinions on Trouba. Am I right?
I honestly, yeah, I like him. He's kind of like he's a
Okay.
throwback. He's a
He's
throwback
definitely throwback, yeah.
physical guy. Um, Kind of crazy. Rangers are looking to trade their captain. Kind of makes you question like the decision of even naming him captain if like they weren't really willing to commit to him long term. But yeah, I think we're all just waiting for um a potential deal with the Red Wings. For the Red Wings, I like that move. Maybe the New York spotlight was kind of tough on Trouba. I think a change of scenery could help him maybe dial it in a bit more. But yeah, I'm a big fan of Trouba. Well, not big fan, but I don't dislike Trouba. I think if he does end up in Detroit, I think he'll help them significantly.
Ian, I'll help you out with that. You are a big fan of Trouba on 4 to 6 million, not 8.
Yeah, exactly. Yes.
Well, yeah, we'll see if maybe like retention's part of any deal that happens. He's from Michigan, right? So like that's why Detroit would make sense there. Dave, anything?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, I could echo Aiden's statement, especially on the fact of like you did know what you were going to be signing with Jacob Trouba, like good and the bad. So why name him captain if you're already looking to kind of pull out of this experiment? Like you had Chris Kreider on the roster from way before you signed Jacob Trouba. I think it definitely opens up the captaincy to I think the most deserving player on that team, which is Chris Kreider. Yeah, maybe you could go with like another way, but yeah, it seems like Trouba's days are kind of numbered there, especially by the end of the playoffs. It kind of seemed like his days were numbered there. Like even the Rangers fans were kind of starting to turn on him as well. Like a lot of the league has turned on him. Yeah, I don't know.
What's up with JT captains being on the trade block? Interesting.
Very weird. Well, I mean, listen, the other JT captain you're thinking of isn't on the trade block because
Yeah.
nobody will want to take that type of money right now, pal. So,
All right. Philadelphia. Only move they made is buying out Cam Atkinson. This guy was once pretty damn good. 30 goal scorer. No more. Would you take a flyer on Cam Atkinson?
No.
If you're a team trying to sign somebody in free agency,
He's the problem with Cam is that he's a little bit small and he's lost his skate. Like he's lost his
yeah.
speed. He used to be a very, very quick guy. I think he's also kind of lost his confidence as well. Like he's been scratched, he's been hurt recently. Um, there will be a team that will, at the very least, offer him like I don't know if it's a PTO, but like league min, close to league min, something like that. There will be a team. For the Leafs personally, probably not. Even for the Caps, like I don't know. Do the Caps really need to offer Cam Atkinson anything? I don't know. You could probably go to like a
Not a
bottom
dollar.
feeder.
Not a dollar.
Maybe he goes to
I
like a bottom feeder or something like that. Other than that, I
Yeah.
don't really see anything.
while we're on Philly, I
Okay.
just wanted to say that Danny Briere once again showing how
It's one of my
amazing
favorites,
he is as
man.
a GM. Um, the little mind game he played with Bill Guerin was genius. Picked up a third round pick for basically free. Obviously, Minnesota really wanted Booyum, and they weren't sure if Philadelphia was gonna pick him because they were the pick ahead. Philly obviously bluffed it and said we might pick him, and forced their hand of Minnesota to trade up just one spot just to get their guy. So I thought that was pretty cool. I thought that was really interesting to see GM mind games being played live on TV. That pick, that trade, I don't know if you guys saw, but you know how they have that little draft timer that says 3 minutes? Definitely over 3 minutes, but it was definitely worth it
Oh
in
yeah.
the moment.
So apparently the rule there is as long as the runner gets to like the registration before that timer is out, it's fine, and then they have to go through the process after the timer expires. Doesn't matter, but yeah. All right. Done with Philly, Pittsburgh, other Pennsylvania team here. We talked about Kevin Hayes before. They get a second plus Kevin Hayes at 3.5 for the next 2 years. To be honest, I still don't know if that's worth it actually to take on Kevin Hayes. He only had 29 points in 79 games. So he played the entire season, 29 points. That's borderline fourth line production. This doesn't like scream like a Kyle Dubas move at all.
Shout out
At least like
Fenway.
from the Leafs times.
Yeah, shout
Shout
out
out who?
Fenway Sports Group, really showing the fans they're committed to winning.
Okay.
I have a tweet here lined up for this part. I was excited to. I knew that we were going to cover the Penguins eventually, so I brought up a really interesting tweet I found. Basically, it's from a Penguins fan, and it has all the Capitals moves this offseason. So like Logan Thompson, Majapani, Dubois, Cole Hudson. Dot dot dot. Take notes, Kyle Dubas. This is how you build around aging veterans. So if that's sentiment around the Penguins, I'm happy about it. I don't like what the moves the Penguins have made so far in acquiring Kevin Hayes. It'll be interesting to see how Kyle Dubas handles a situation like this. He's never been a GM to deal with aging stars, and I think that he's uncomfortable for the first time in his career.
Fair enough. Let's see what happens there. Boston Bruins, a lot to talk about here. No more Linus Ullmark. Enter Joonas Korpisalo. 25% retains. He's making $3 million and a first round pick that they used on Dean Letourneau. That guy might be the most Boston Bruin guy I've ever seen in my entire life out of St. Andrew College, if you guys saw. That dude is freaking humongous. Brandon, what do you think about no more Linus Ullmark? It's Korpisalo now with Swayman.
I mean, I don't think it's a bad move at all. I think they did a good job of finding a spot, I think, for Allmark where he can go in and play. But also, I think they're freeing up cap space. I expect them to be very active this summer and kind of chasing, for me, what they needed is an upgrade up front. And I think we're going to see that even in the next couple of days. There's a lot of guys that are being, I'm sure, targeted by the Bruins, and I expect them, like I said, to be active in the free agent market. It makes sense. They've got what they need in the goal, and now it's let's build out and let's get back to where we've been as a franchise.
Yeah, well said. Okay, we're gonna go quick here. Buffalo Sabres. Brian, you guys traded Beck Malenstein for a second. What are Buffalo Sabres getting in Beck Malenstein?
They are getting a premier fourth liner. He's good, solid. The way I see Malenstein is how I see like Dowd a couple years ago, like just a fourth liner on his way up, solid. And I think that they did kind of get fleeced paying a second round pick in which we got a premier defenseman out of that. But Buffalo, Back Melanson, he gets playtime on Buffalo, and I think Buffalo gets some extra depth, which is what they need. So
Gotcha. On the Detroit front, we talked about Jake Wallman. Really, it's a question mark, the absolute question mark, and I think we'll find out the answer of why they clear that cap space hopefully soon. Maybe it's that Trooper deal we talked about. Florida, once again with Florida, I think they're too busy partying really to make moves, right? Like they got no time to
Was
do any business.
the fact that Bill Zito had to go to Vegas before their cup parade, like to go to the draft and stuff, or like that whole staff had to go to Vegas for the draft before the cup parade, like it's kind of just so shitty for I'm gonna say for Bill Zito, but for like the whole staff that had to go over. But
Could you imagine if it was like Florida? Well, see, I don't even think Florida picked in the first round yesterday. If they had, or on Friday night, if they had a pick or whatever Florida's first pick was, they should have like FaceTime Zito and get him on the sphere, like just huge Bill Zito. That would have been great. I think that would have been the move. We didn't get it, unfortunately. So we'll see what Florida does. They got crazy free agents: Brandon Montour, Sam Reinhart. Lots to talk about Reinhart staying, but it hasn't happened yet. And lots of talk about Montour leaving. So we'll see what happens there. Montreal Canadiens. Le Montréal Canadien. We talked about Kovacevic, and that's basically all they've done as of right now. So not much there. Ottawa side of things. Let's talk about Linus Ullmark for Ottawa. I know, Brandon, you touched on it. Is this the move that actually gets Ottawa up the standings this year? Linus Ullmark in that?
No, it's not, man. I don't see Ottawa. I think they may be improved slightly, but I don't see them making that jump just yet. It's possible with some of the young players they have, in the next few years, but they would really have to surprise me with a big move, I think, to really shore up that they could or show that they can be in that playoff hunt for real.
Yeah, that's fair. Last team here before we get to our two teams, Tampa Bay Lightning. We talked about Jeannot, talked about the Sergachev trade. Talk a little bit more about Gensel for Tampa, if that is what comes through. I think Brandon was saying before we started recording, 7-year deal is what it sounds like it's trending towards in Tampa for Gensel. Like what a changing of the guard from Steven Stamkos to Jake Gensel. I don't even know if is it an upgrade like as soon as this year? Because Stamkos was a 40 goal scorer last year, put up I think like 80 plus points at least. So how big of a difference are they getting now from Stamkos to Gensel?
Younger.
For the price of Sergachev too, though, right? Like that was the cap space.
I don't know if I like it, man. I really like Sergachev, and I don't like disrespecting captains, veterans, guys that will have a statue outside Amalie in a couple of years. I feel like Stamkos should feel rubbed the wrong way by this all, given what he's done for this franchise. And I think that Julian Breezewell is just trying to play cutthroat, kind of like the Golden Knights. And I don't know how it makes me feel about the Bolts as an organization. They used to be a premier organization. I think this takes them down a step in the sense that you're hurting the legacy of guys that have done so much for you.
Yeah,
Okay.
definitely gonna be weird to see Stammer in a different uniform. But yeah, I'd say Getzel's definitely an upgrade defensively as far as like a 200-foot player and like solid number one center. So if you just look at it player for player, I think you take Gensel over Stamkos right now, like minus all the legacy and everything. So yeah, I think it's a great move.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see what that one actually ends up coming out to. Okay, let's shift to Washington, Brian. I think we've touched on a number of things, but what are your thoughts on like Logan Thompson? That's the main one, and I think Andrew Mangiapane. So what does
So
Logan Thompson do for you instead of Darcy Kemper? So Thompson and Lindgren.
So Thompson is an upgrade over Kemper. I think that I made that very clear in the past. I'm not a big Darcy Kemper fan. I'm a little bit disappointed that Shepard and Stevenson won't get a chance to play in the NHL this year. I thought that one of them would make the jump, specifically Shepard, but I just think that McClellan doesn't believe in them, which is odd given that we're back-to-back reigning Calder Cup champions. Go Bears! I don't know. It's gonna be a 1A, 1B situation. Chucky and Thompson will be fine, I think. Majapane, I think that is signaling the ending of the career of TJ Oshie, which is unfortunately tragic. From the business side of things, I guess you're trading the cap space of TJ Oshie, who's probably gonna go in LTIR for Majapane. They're essentially like middle six wingers. I'm not that too concerned, especially just because of the fact that Majapane only makes I think 500,000 more than Ochi, or no, 50,000 more than Ochi. Sorry, so that'll be okay. So we did get younger there. All all in all, McClellan this postseason has made B moves that combine to be an A. We got significantly younger and replaced our aging pieces with younger pieces, keeping us competitive going forward. Like that tweet said, this is how you build around an aging core. Carlson and Ovechkin only have so many years left, and those are the only two guys left from our cup run. If we have any shot of staying competitive, this is the way to do it. And we also have a bunch of young guys coming up too, which I'm super excited for. I think that Spencer Carberry is gonna have a really good time meshing the veteran experience with the new young energy that's coming in over the past couple of years.
I'm impressed by your guys' like offseason so far too. I do like a lot of the moves. I think the Mangiapane one might be my favorite, honestly. I'm still iffy on like the Dubois deal, but Mangiapane, I really like. I think the number one thing with that guy is just motor. He scored 35 goals 2 years ago. It's been basically just like a 40-point guy past 2 seasons, but I think there's more in there. Maybe not 35 again, but 20 to 25 if you get that from him, 50 points. Like you said, middle six winger, but like productive middle six winger that could play like on an actual winning team. I think there's more there than what we've seen recently in Calgary with Mangiapane.
And
Any
he'll be
thoughts, guys, on yeah,
I
sorry?
I really like the upgrade to Logan
Yeah.
Thompson. I think we
Yeah.
all could see that Darcy Kemper was doing a lot more sinking than swimming there. He has 1 year at like basically league min right now, right? It's like 785. So he could be in line for a big payday next year. Maybe he goes long term, maybe goes long term with you guys. Maybe next year is when it's Hunter Shepherd in the minors. Maybe next year is when Hunter Shepherd comes up. I think getting a player like Logan Thompson at this current point right now, it's not like it's like a good mystery box, I would say. I think you're in a position for it to go so many ways that you can also then pull out if it doesn't go well and you're still kind of like in the clear. You know what I mean? Like if he doesn't play well, it's 800K against the cap and you're free of him after this season, right? Like you don't have to retain him. You have guys in the system that you could call up. And if he's great, then he's great. And it also then makes either him expendable or the other guys, that like I just mentioned, expendable in the minors. So I think that's a bit of shrewd business there from GMBM, our boy. We got to get him on the pod.
he's
GMBM,
he's
baby.
he's really shown himself to be one of like the top GMs in the league. I think over the past decade, he's probably one of the longest tenured GMs now with us. He's just kept us competitive. We've only missed 1 year we only didn't make the playoffs 1 year with him, and we got a top tier prospect. I also just wanted to shout out the pick that he made with the back Milestone pick, which is Cole Hudson. Cole Hudson's brother Lane played with our pick Ryan Chesley in the U.S. program a couple years ago. So it's gonna be cool to see a Hudson beside a Chesley again going forward, hopefully in the future. Wearing
I
red,
like
white,
that
and
pick for
blue,
you
by the way.
guys. I wanted
Yeah.
that guy, man. I wanted Cole Hudson. Come on. We could have had the Montreal versus Toronto rivalry. Come on. You ruined it, Brian. What the hell, man? What the hell? No, I did like that pick, GMBM. I don't even know if I can say I would go as far as to say that he's a top GM because I don't think he gets enough praise, right? Like he's an underrated GM. Definitely like a sneaky good GM is how I'd characterize him. And yeah, like that Logan Thompson deal for a third round pick, you can't go wrong, even if it does go wrong. I know a team that maybe should have been doing that deal too.
Yeah.
They wear blue and white. Okay, I think we're 4 episodes in of having all 5 of us on, and we haven't talked Leafs until this moment. That's
I just
pretty
have one.
crazy. Oh,
I just have one more thing about the Caps.
Brian ruining it again.
sorry,
Oh
sorry.
my god. No, it's okay. Let's hear what you got.
So Dubois had his transfer interview when he was talking about coming to Washington, and they asked him about what would it feel like helping Ovechkin beat the goal record. Ovechkin's only 42 goals away, so they asked him. I think the question was along the lines of, how would you react to getting number 40 to assisting 43 or something like that? And all he did was smile, and I think that might be a tell to how he does with us this season. He's going to be motivated, I hope, playing with Ovechkin. So fingers crossed he gets 80% of what he should be in DC.
I'll be honest with you, Brian.
Genuinely
go,
be
Dave.
fuming. I'd be genuinely fuming if Pierre-Luc Dubois gets the assist on that goal record. Because I've been outwardly, we might have spited him the most on this. This podcast is 80 episodes old. It's either him or Jordan Binnington that's probably been spited the most by me over the past year and almost 2 years now.
I'm on team PLD. I want him to do good.
Whoa.
Oh,
listen, Brian, I'm gonna be honest with you. Like any quote that I hear from PLD or like anything personality based, like I'm throwing it in the trash. Like I don't trust what this guy says. Show me it on the ice, and then I'll pay attention to your quotes. Right? That's kind of the.
If I asked any player, what would it be like assisting Ovechkin's record breaking goal? I think that most players would, would feel something to that.
So I don't know. Yeah, that exactly. It doesn't tell me much about PLD. But listen, we got a team here that doesn't have much feeling either in the Leafs. Okay, we've only felt one feeling, and it's called not good. It's called bad. It's called sad.
Pain.
Pain. The pain, the passion that comes with pain. Okay, let's talk Leafs, guys. So since 10 days ago, they have officially hired Mark Savard as a I think it's an associate coach. I think is the title they gave him. And in terms of actual moves, Chris Tanev, we've acquired his rights from Dallas, like we mentioned earlier, and Max Domi extension 3.75 times 4. I just think we got to go around the room here, throw out any thoughts you have on the Toronto Maple Leafs because we haven't done it yet as a crew of 5. So
Savard,
let's just go around the room here.
Like Savard, love the Domi signing.
Out of 10?
For both moves, Savard, I don't know, 7. I don't know. How can you rank? I don't know.
I meant more Domi. Yeah.
Okay, Domi. Okay, so Domi 1. I'm gonna give it pure vibes 8. Yeah, I'll give it an 8.
A-Dog.
Yeah, love the Domi signing. I thought you'd have to pay a bit more. So, this might be, I don't even know the last time someone took a hometown discount. I think this is the best best discount the Leafs have had in a while, maybe ever. I don't know. I like the Domi deal.
He's now on the podium with, I'd say, Spezza and Mark Giordano, but those are different, right? Those are league men and they're 35 plus. But in terms of players in their prime, I think you're right. He might be number 1.
Domi has a future. No offense to Spezza and Giordano, but I give the deal a 9 out of 10. I'm happy they were able to get a deal done.
Brando, Domi deal?
Yeah, I'm a big Domi guy. I think he had a great year with the Leafs. I was very happy to see that he re-upped with them. I think the money is good. I like the term. I like having him under contract now, something he hasn't really been willing to do with some other teams. So it's great to see that. But I think the Leafs have started well. I like the Tanev thing too. I like bringing him in and giving the Leafs the first crack at signing him. Overnight, I guess at this point now into tomorrow, and I expect him to be a Leaf come some point in the next day or two, and then we kind of go from there. I don't think they can be done there. They have to do more. Absolutely.
Do we like the idea of Chris Tanev if he's making $5 million for 6 years? Because that's the latest report we had come out. Those are big numbers for a guy whose age is up there at 34, turning 35 this year. I do love Chris Tanev, the player too. I would hate for a guy who's been loved at every single place he's been, Vancouver, Calgary, Dallas in a short time, to come home and for us to sewer him, right? So all the positivity on that one, to be honest. So hopefully, whatever deal he signs, he can live up to it. I think there's definitely like a ton of value there. Timothy
Just
Liljegren, we should mention too. Oh,
can
you got something?
can I just break something quickly? This isn't to do with the Leafs, but Patrick Kane 1 year in Detroit, $6.5 million for 1 year.
That's a lot.
Wow.
It's a lot of
That's a
money.
lot. That's
Yeah.
a lot.
But he
for
was
Detroit.
very good. He was very good
Yeah,
for
very
them
good.
last year.
Yeah,
He was.
you know me. I was a Patrick Kane truther, and
I
even
was
I
not.
think that was a lot. Yeah,
Kane's like my
that's a
favorite.
lot.
Kane's like my favorite player that's not like that's never played for the Capitals, and
You
that's
literally like gasped when you heard that.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
expensive.
Well,
Yeah.
we'll talk about that next episode for sure. Liljegren as well. We should mention signs Remo times two. Yeah, that's one where I'll say I've been on the trade Liljegren train for going back to the start of this year, and my thought process there was I know what Timothy Liljegren is under Sheldon Keefe. I don't need to see it again. And if they plan on keeping Sheldon Keefe, trade Liljegren. They kept Sheldon Keefe, and I think we saw the exact same out of Liljegren that we had seen the past 2 years. Difference this time is no Sheldon Keefe. So that is where my optimism will come from. Maybe Craig Berube is able to unlock something different in Timothy Liljegren, because it would have been my preference to trade him, if I'm being honest. I know Adog, you had sent something regarding trade related stuff from another Leaf. Do you want to tell us about that and what do you think?
Yeah. So mid episode, is reported that Nick Robertson is gonna request a trade. He's not gonna be back in Toronto. Honestly, I saw a potential trade coming. I just think there's been flashes with Robertson, but he's never really like found a groove here in Toronto. So yeah, I'm assuming he'll get traded pretty soon here.
Yeah.
Yeah, what are your guys' thoughts on it?
Probably within the week, honestly. Or maybe within the next 48 hours. Who knows? Yeah, it's gonna be sad to see him go. I think Nick Robertson might have had like out of like let's rank the prospect hype here. It's Nick Robertson, Fraser Minton, Easton Cowan. I think like least hype probably Fraser Minton, then 1 and 2. I don't know who's got more hype behind them. Who had more hype behind them? Nick Robertson.
Either, yeah, like Nick Robertson is right there. Like when he was at his peak of hype,
Yeah,
it was huge because he was in the middle of like a 50-goal season with the
with the
Pete's.
Pete's.
And then I
So
think
jealous.
COVID
Yeah.
shut it down, and then he came up with the Leafs in the bubble, right? Like, and that was prime. Like, can you imagine that prime Nick Robertson hype was in the middle of the blue and white scrimmage game before the Leafs like took on Columbus in the bubble? I think that's when it
Yeah.
was, because I remember he scored a slap shot goal, and everyone was like, "Get this guy in the lineup," and they actually did.
So
yeah,
here's another thing. In 10 playoff games for Nick Robertson, do you know how many playoff points he has?
I'm gonna guess 2. He's got a goal. I know that.
He has 1, and that
Okay,
one
wow.
came in the bubble.
Columbus.
Yeah.
Yeah, we lost that game. We lost that game.
Yeah, and we lost again. So
Brando last. Yeah, sorry.
yeah. No, I just like it's tough. It's tough.
If
but
I'm setting a value on him, I want back something that's like you can equate to a mid to low second. That's kind of what I'm like. If Beck Malenstein can get a second, we better get a goddamn second for Nick Robertson. That's all I'm gonna say. Brando, Robertson thoughts, and also if you want to talk about Bertuzzi and the fact that it sounds like he's not coming back.
Yeah, absolutely. For me, with Robertson, I actually kind of view him in a similar way that I view Liljegren. I think we kind of know whereabouts he fits in on a an NHL roster and what he can do. And I think it's up to Treliving now to kind of maximize what you can get for a guy like that he can clearly score in the NHL. But when it comes to Tyler Bertuzzi, yeah, it's sounding like he's not going to be back with the Maple Leafs. It sounds like after the Domi deal is set, they might be looking in another direction, whether that's trying to get Tanev done or something else in the defense, or maybe looking towards a goalie or something. But Tyler Bertuzzi, it sounds like will be headed to another team come July 1 tomorrow. I think there are a ton of teams that are going to have interest in him. It just depends on what will work for him, whether that's money or term or whether it's fit. But yeah, he'll have no issue, I think, getting signed. But it does suck for the Leafs. I think a lot of people wanted him back, and I think the team would have loved to have him back. He did fit with what I think they're trying to do going forward. It just maybe just wasn't the best fit, I think.
Yeah. No, I think you nailed it. There was definitely gonna be a lot of teams that have interest in him. Players that the Leafs also have interest in going into tomorrow. Reports are we are hot on the tail of Nikita Zadorov, but he might be too expensive. See what happens there. OEL, another name. I think Brad wanted him last year too. Ended up going with Klingberg. This kind of feels like he's just trying to redo that error that he made last year. We'll see what happens.
OEL definitely made the right decision and not
Yeah,
coming to the Leafs. Yeah.
So yeah, those are some of the names of being linked to. No Matt Roy, to my dismay.
Boo.
We'll have to see. My mind is not made up yet on what Brad's been cooking.
I have a question. Does Jeff Skinner, is he
No, we missed
potentially
Jeff Skinner,
somebody? No, but I'm saying, like,
I think no.
Is he somebody that they look at? So now that Tyler Bertuzzi, you have to replace the points like that Tyler Bertuzzi is leaving behind. I'm gonna assume Easton Cowan's gonna be gonna end up coming up.
Yeah,
so
that's your Nick Robertson replacement.
Yeah,
Easton Cowan.
there is still some holes on that lineup. I don't know. Just spitballing. I saw Jeff Skinner could be out there.
Toronto guy, huge vibes guy. If you've ever seen the Buffalo socials, he's all over them. I don't see the fit personally because he snipes and that's about it. It depends on his price, but I'll lean no. We'll see what happens. We'll see where it goes. We'll see how everybody goes. It feels like it's gonna be a crazy day tomorrow. And then we'll cover it all next episode. It's going to be a lot to go over. No time, unfortunately, for soccer this episode, guys. But there's going to be more soccer talk next episode for sure. Shout out to Fubo. Shout out to Razor. Where can you get a Max Domi Leafs jersey?
I was going to say Beck Mallenstein. NHLshop.ca, but
NHLshop.ca. We'll see you next episode.